If you are looking at upgrading your backpacking game, we're just going to dive into 7 tips to improve your backpacking trips and get you one step closer to becoming a backpacking guru. I can't tell you how many times I've been on trail and I've seen somebody with their bear spray literally dangling off the back of their backpack, or even having their bear spray in their backpack. If you ask anybody who's ever been charged by a bear, I can guarantee you they're all going to tell you the same thing. It happens so much faster than you think it would. So when it comes to your bear spray, making sure that it is easily accessible, making sure that you know sort of the method you're going to use to get it out, to deploy it, making sure you know how to use it. These are so very, very important, because at the end of the day, your bear spray is your last line of defense. The chances of you actually having to use it are very, 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 very small. But it's one of those things that, you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. My friend Bo, he's got a little holster on the side of his bag that his bear spray just sits in. My buddy Devin has got these little pockets on his shoulder straps, and he just tucks his bear spray into there. For myself personally, I always carry my bear spray right here on my chest strap. I just run the chest strap through the little hole on the bear spray can and it dangles right there. The reason that I like carrying it here is I actually don't even have to pull my bear spray out to deploy it. If I was going to get charged by a bear, let's pretend that you're a bear right now and you're coming at me. I'm just going to grab the bear spray in my hand, flick back the little protective cover, smash it down, and it's going to arc out in front of me. If you're carrying your bear spray, just making sure you've got it in an easily accessible, easy to deploy location. When it comes to food storage, a big thing that can really make life just a lot more comfortable and just a luxury thing you can do for yourself out there on trail is taking some kind of Ziploc bag. Like, I prefer the medium-sized Ziploc freezer bags. And what I will do is I will take whatever I plan on having for lunch that day, like say my Ichiban noodles and some beef jerky and maybe a Crystal Light to flavor up my water. And I will put that in the Ziploc freezer bag, and I will keep that out of my food bag, and I will store this somewhere easily accessible in my backpack. Like on my Osprey Exos 55 Pro, I will take my lunch that I've got in my Ziploc freezer bag and I will put that in the lid of my pack. Or if I'm not using the lid of my pack, I'll stick it in the stretchy mesh pocket on the outside of my bag, or I'll just stick it into the very top of my backpack. Now what this does is when I stop for lunch, I don't have to pull my food bag out and go hunting through it in the middle of the day, in the middle of the trail to try and find all my lunch. I've just got it nice, easily accessible. It's already kind of pre-packaged. And then what I will do at the end of that lunch is I'll just take that medium Ziploc freezer bag and I'll stick it back in my bag. And the next morning I will load that freezer bag right back up with the next day's lunch and keep going. For tip number 3, we're going to talk more gear you should have easy access to when you're out there on trail. And this one often gets overlooked. And that's your rain jacket. For me, it just kind of depends on which backpack I'm using. I'll either stuff my rain jacket into the outside stretchy pocket of my pack, or I'll stick it in the very top of my backpack. If I do put it in the top of my pack, what I'll use my rain jacket for is just cover anything in my bag that's not inside my pack liner. Just kind of gives me a little extra level of protection for any of the gear inside my pack. Nothing sucks more than sitting there getting absolutely poured on and just soaked and you're miserable and you're digging through your bag trying to find your rain jacket. Making sure you've got this easily accessible is going to make life so much better for you out there on trail. For tip number 4, we're going to talk about one of the most annoying things out there, and that is mosquitoes. If there's anything more annoying than mosquitoes out there on trail, it's destroying your really nice, expensive backpacking gear with DEET. Something I have learned over the years is DEET loves eating away at the fabrics that we tend to use in backpacking gear. I have destroyed so many rain jackets and watches, and I have discolored backpacks, and I've ruined tent flies because I got DEET on my backpacking gear. And one of the best solutions to that I have found is switching away from DEET-based insect repellents and going to an Icaridin or Picaridin based insect repellent. This specific brand, the Pi Active, is what I have switched to over the last couple years. I have found it to be just as effective as DEET. Bearing in mind, the DEET concentrations that we can get up here in Canada is 30%. So we can't get that 99% stuff that you guys get down in the States. But compared to the 30% DEET that we use up here, this is just as effective. And like I said, it's not going to destroy your expensive backpacking gear. Now for tip number 5, this is going to help you guys when you actually get to camp. And the very first thing you should do when you get to camp is get your shelter set up. Now that includes, say, setting up your tent or setting up your tarp and your hammock and making sure you've got all your quilts and your sleeping bags and your sleeping pad, making sure that stuff is all laid out and set up. Now there's a couple reasons why this is really, really important to do. And if you've got any kind of moisture built up on, say, your tent or your tarp, the sooner that you get that set up, the longer it's going to have to air out and the longer it's going to have to dry and get any kind of that condensation and moisture dealt with. And when it comes to your sleep system, you know, say your sleeping pad or your quilts or your hammock and your top quilt or your sleeping bag, you want to get those out of your backpack and give those the most amount of time you can to loft up. And I can tell you from experience, it really sucks waiting until it's dark to go and try and set up your tent and then set your sleeping pad up and get your sleeping bag or your quilt, you know, laid out, and your quilt's been in your bag all day and it's compressed and it takes a little bit of time to loft up. And if you're anything like me, when you decide to go to bed, you want to go to bed. You know, I like going and just crawling into bed, getting comfortable and just passing right out and going right to sleep. I don't want to be dealing with setting up my tent in the middle of the night. That's why I get it set up the second I get to camp. Tip number 6 has to do with the morning after and when we're getting packed up and getting ready to leave camp. And I call this one the dummy check. Now, the reason I call this a dummy check is because I myself am a dummy and I have forgotten backpacking gear in camp on more than one occasion. The way the dummy check works is, very first thing I do is, you know, I get my camp packed up and I'll get my bag loaded up, and then I'll carry my stuff over to wherever the eating area is, set my stuff down, make my breakfast, you know, get my coffee and stuff going, get ready to start my day, give it a couple minutes, and then before I leave camp, I will go back to where I was set up and I will do another quick once over and double check everything. And when I do my dummy check, when I'm scanning my campsite, instead of scanning like we naturally would, like when you read a book, you're reading from the left and going to the right. When I do my dummy check in my campsite, I will go from the right and I will scan from right to left. I picked this tip up from my buddy Logan. He's a military medic, and he said that's just one of the ways that, you know, they will go and kind of double check things. And he said that you're more apt to see things that you may have missed earlier because you're kind of looking at it in reverse. I don't know if this is really true. This is just kind of what I've done, but using this method has helped me catch things a couple times. If you hike with other people, it's also a really, really good idea, even to have them come and do a quick once over of your camp spot and do the same thing for them. You know, having multiple sets of eyes can really help catch things that you might have missed, and it's going to help you not lose your gear. Tip number 7 is the most important tip in this video, and that is liking this video and subscribing to the Matty Outdoors YouTube channel for even more backpacking tips and tricks to make your backpacking trips even better, like these 2 videos right here, which I am sure will help you guys out. And as always, guys, I am Matty. Thank you guys so dang much for watching. Now I will see you on the next one.